Hey guys, welcome to Salvage Art Stories. I'm Uncle Dave. A lot of people who work on cars want to be able to pass that down to someone else. I personally don't have any kids, but I've talked about the little guy named David that I've worked with for quite a while. He's the one that I talked about that we put in the battery tray when he was a little kid in like kindergarten and helped me get that torque mount off. He was having just a couple of issues in school and maybe needed a little more guidance, and I was able to do that. Well, throughout the time that we've hung out, he's also hung out with other friends of mine. My friend Joe, who drives the Honda Civic, very calm, very quiet. Then he also hangs out with my friend Matt, who knows all about sports, which is great because David is a star basketball player. He also plays football and he's also played baseball. All the guys have been to at least one or two of his games over the years. And then you have my friend Heath, who is basically a big brother to David. And I myself am the one who is a little more serious, and I've taught him how to do quite a bit of work on a car, or just paint work, many different things that I could pass down for him to have in his skill set. You know, when you work with kids, you learn very quickly that you're not only teaching them, but they're teaching you. When David was using a torch to burn off a wheel bearing in the second grade, or using my drill to mount some mud flaps on my Volvo wagon, just a couple of years ago, I was changing out the transmission temp sensor, and he was dropped off, and he found his way to my garage and laid down on the ground, and he made it to the duration. Well, he got his first car, which was a 2003 Toyota Corolla that my friend Matt sold him. David did something kind of foolish, and he didn't check the oil, and he ended up seizing up the motor. You know, I was kind of irritated about that, but in reality, it taught me to show that kid some grace and to be a little more patient. Because if any of those people who like cars who watch this video want to act like they've never done anything stupid to their car, well, then they're probably lying. I let a car overheat because I didn't want to deal with the fact that it had a blown head gasket, my 245 diesel station wagon I've talked about in the past. My friend Joe with the Honda Civic, he had an Eagle Talon TSI 5-speed. It was a really great car, but he didn't check the oil and he ended up seizing up the motor. So you see, we all do really stupid things, and even though we might get irritated with a kid, that doesn't mean that we can't show them a little grace and, move forward. One of the things that we were able to teach David, besides how to work on a car, while he was there learning how to, learn a new skill, he also learned how to deal with people and to be a mature and responsible adult. Matt and Joe and Heath and I are all very hardworking people. We have different personalities, but at the core, we're all very hardworking people. Now, if you have a son or a daughter, or there's just a kid in the neighborhood you can take under your wing, when he's turning a wrench and he's helping me take apart a transmission, he's not just learning how to take apart a transmission. He's learning moral values. He's learning lessons in respect and loyalty. And those things can be shown when you have an avenue like working on a project. Because it's hard to sit a kid down and lecture them about what they should do or what's responsible. The better way to do it, at least in my book, maybe you guys don't think so, is to have some kind of a project. Work on something together, and while you're working on the project and he can see that you're responsible, you can impart knowledge that helps him in the future. David, we call him Little David because of course I'm Uncle David. Well, the deal is that David is no longer in kindergarten. David is 6'3" and about 200 pounds now, but he'll always be Little David to us. I think David is he's through us, and the fact that he has really good parents, David has been able to show maturity. He's very respectful, and he has a lot of promise. I see a lot of good things for him as he gets older. And I would like to think that some of that is not just his parents, but the lessons that he learned from the people that he's been hanging around with. It's gotten to the point now where if the guys all get together and we decide we're going to go to dinner, we end up just going straight to David's house, and we bring David with us because he's one of the groups. And there's been multiple times where a person's car is down and we need help, and David's right there working on it with us. I think it was maybe just last year, I clear coated my car and David helped to buff the car out. As he gets older, he has less time to be doing those things because of basketball and school, but he still comes over and he still is able to help out. And just recently we went to dinner, and it was my friend Matt and Heath and I and David. And the waitress commented how lucky David was to have us around him. But it made me think, how lucky are we that we had the opportunity to mentor a kid and teach him these things? Well, if you do see some kid that's maybe having some issues, or your own daughter or your own son, and you feel that you can impart some knowledge and you want to teach them how to be a better person, there is no better way to do that than to do it through some type of a project. It doesn't matter if you're working on a car, if you're doing woodworking, or if you're painting your house. When a child sees that you're being responsible and you know how to do things, they're very open to learning how to just be not the guy that's turning the wrench, but the guy that's responsible when he's in high school and is polite to the waitress when she shows up at the table. Working on cars just allows you to talk to kids like that. Well, I hope that this is probably not one of my longer videos, but I hope that maybe that puts a bug in your ear and you can look around and see if there's a kid in need where you live and see what kind of an impact you can make with that kid. As I said, it doesn't matter if it's working on cars. It can be anything, painting or woodworking. Anything that you're doing that you could teach that kid how to do something, impart some knowledge. We talk about how this generation of kids is different and they're not, like we were back in the day, but that doesn't mean that we can't produce a couple kids that were a little more like us, a little more respectful and a little more loyal. I think that one of the things my friend Heath always tells me is that I'm not a fan of the word love. I don't know why, but I'm not. I think that I'm a little harder than the other guys are on David, but what I find I want to teach him is the definition of respect and loyalty. Those aren't things that most kids today, I think, understand. And I think that that's benefited him a lot because he was a little embarrassed that he ruined that car, but at the same time, I was able to learn to give him just a little bit of grace. I think sometimes we need to remember that kids are kids, and if grown adult men can screw their cars up, kids will do the same thing. I think the only thing that was hard for me is that David's worked with me for 10 years, and I expected him to be better than that. But in reality, partially that's my fault because I expected him to be perfect. And as we all know, there is no 16-year-old kid that is perfect. Well, I'm glad you guys tuned in, and I hope that maybe you'll tune in again if you enjoyed this. I'm Uncle Dave.